Welcome to the next level. Got a special guest with us today, Marysa Maggio. How we doing, Marysa?
Doing great. Super excited. Thankful to be on with you guys today. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming down.
Absolutely.
Like literally coming down. You're up in Boston area or close to it?
Yeah, 30 minutes north of Boston. So.
Got it. A couple hours to get here?
Yeah, about 2 hours to get here.
Not bad. When you started with us, we were in-home, right? Back in 2018, and you lived through this whole transition from in-home to virtual, right? Are you doing virtual or telesales? What are you doing now?
Everything pretty much over the phone.
Okay, over the phone. So
Yep.
no Zooms, just over the phone.
Yeah, like I would say maybe 5% of my business is Zoom.
Got it. And are you a late adapter? How long have you been on the Zoom or the telesales train?
I would say I'm a later adapter.
Okay.
Probably like this whole year is when I really transitioned completely to telesales.
And it's funny, I think you see that with people that have been here for a few years. It's like we kind of get stuck in our ways. Like, hey, listen, I've been going in home for years. Why am I going to change now? But what made you finally make that leap? Is it just seeing what everyone else was doing, or?
I think it was really seeing what everyone else was doing, but also seeing how much further of a reach we can have. Like,
Yeah.
Just from being at home, but also how much further a reach our agents can have,
Right.
Because I might have had plenty of leads to be able to go in home in my state, but maybe, you're in Oregon and,
Sure.
Hypothetically, and maybe there weren't that many
Yeah.
in that little pocket, so to say.
Right. I mean, in Connecticut, it's small. Counties are small. I remember when we were all in home, we were up in Mass, we were in Rhode Island, we were in New Hampshire. Like there was days I'd be in Mass, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. I'm
Yep.
like, that was my goal, is trying to sell a policy in each state.
Right.
But there's a lot of driving time.
Yeah.
So then it's like, in order to get to the amount of clients you need to get to hit your goals, you're spending a lot of time in the car.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of driving back and forth. A lot of, you get out of one appointment, you put in the next address, and you go, I'm supposed to be there in 15 minutes, and it's an hour away.
It says 54.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember the first time, you ever run in Connecticut?
Yeah.
First time I went from Hartford to New Hartford.
Yep.
I was new. So I'm like, I'm dialing. I'm like, I figured New Hartford would be next to Hartford, right? Like,
Yeah.
You go on the coastline, you got East Lyme and Lyme. They're right next to each other.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, I'll go to this one at, 4, go to that one at 5. So I get done with my Hartford appointment. I put the address in, and it's like an hour and 5 minutes. Like, how the hell does that make any sense?
You like re-put it in.
Yeah. I'm like, hold on, did I do something wrong? And sure as hell it was there,
Right.
But now, virtual telesales, you're able to really stack the deck in your favor. And so you've been pretty much this year, you've been telesales?
Yeah, pretty much this year.
Got
Yeah.
it. And one of the things, it's just a testament to how much the industry has evolved over the past few years, right? It's like my first few years in the industry, everything was the same. We had paper apps, we had the same, few products, we had direct mail leads, mortgage final expense. The internet leads were atrocious.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
stuff like people would click on a box at on a Home Depot website, and all of a sudden you're trying to sell them. Like, I don't even have a house. I was just, trying to get some blinds for my apartment.
Right.
But, and that's changed. Internet leads now are, compared to back then, are phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'd even argue that they're just as good as the direct mail.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a different approach, right? So what we want to talk about today is the differences between direct mail mortgage and then digital mortgage, because you're doing a lot of digital mortgage now.
Yeah, digital mortgage, final expense, just
Yep.
kind of going from that piece of paper to the digital.
Got it.
Yeah.
What was that like for you, that transition?
I think a lot of it, to be honest, I don't think it had to be that deep, so to say.
Yeah.
But I made it that deep, if that
Okay.
makes sense. I overthought everything. I was like, the script has to be different.
Got it.
I have to change the way I do this. Versus just taking the in-home that I knew worked, duplicating it to the phone, and, sending my credentials and calling it a day.
Okay.
So I kind of overcomplicated those steps a lot. And I was scared to get digital leads.
Really?
I was like, Mike, I was that person that was like in like ILC, like, okay, well, let me see what other states I can buy the direct mail in.
Yeah.
Like, and I still do buy some direct mail like here.
Sure,
there,
we're not anti-direct mail.
Yeah, I'm
but-
not anti-direct mail, but it has definitely changed. And like, I think that we got to be prepared to kind of deal with that a little bit
Correct.
differently.
It's like, let's use our brains a little bit here, right? Like the younger generation, the younger generations get older. The younger generations, they don't do anything paper.
Right.
Like my kids, everything's digital.
Right.
They go to school now. There's Chromebooks. My daughter was here yesterday, and I had Google Docs up, right? We all, obviously, anyone who works here. And then she reckoned, she's 8. She's like, Daddy, you using Google Docs? I use that. And it was funny, but it's cool.
Right.
But that's where this whole world is. It's digital.
Right.
Everything's digital.
It's the future.
Yeah.
It's here.
I even tell, don't print me out. Just send me something. I'll
Yeah.
pull it up on my phone, my tablet, my computer. Don't be printing shit out.
Right. Don't be killing trees.
No reason to.
Yeah.
And then direct mail, it's going away. I knew this 10 years ago.
Right. I think we all did.
Right.
You know?
Like, do you go to your mailbox often?
I mean, like, no, and I do. It's like trash.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So people aren't checking their mail like they used to. So what does that mean from a direct mail standpoint is the returns aren't as good as they used to be. So the lead cost is going to go up.
Right.
Would you rather pay, $100 for one direct mail lead or $100 for 5, 10, 15, 20 digital leads?
Right. Digital.
Absolutely.
Yep. More at bats.
Yep. So what were some of the things that you had to change, getting into, even if it's just how many you bought or like what was the big shift you had to make? Because would you say you're predominantly digital leads now?
Oh, yeah. Like I would say like 90% digital leads.
Got it.
At least,
So it's not exactly the same, but to your point, like don't make it out to be like this complete overhaul.
Right.
But for the people that are still stuck on direct mail for some reason, they think that the mail's just all of a sudden going to come back.
Right.
It's not. Spoiler, it's not. So to those people, talk to them, Marysa, about what changes you do have to make to have the same results on digital leads.
Yeah, so, Mike, it's different, right? When I come, whether I come to your house or even send you a picture, right, of this form that you got in your mailbox, you filled it out and you sent it back, right? Like that's a little bit of a different conversation versus you were on Facebook, you watched a video which informed you about mortgage protection or, final expense or whatever it may have been, and you had a piqued interest, you filled out the lead. Now, this is where my psychology was a little bit messed up when I first started taking a look.
Okay.
I would be like, well, Mike, you filled this out with like a pen and paper, sent it back, you did all these steps. But it's like depending on what kind of leads you're running, regardless, like they watched a video, right? Like they had to get through the video and then they had to fill in their personal information.
Yeah.
And here's what I know. Like, Mike, you ever click on something, you feel like you're like, I'm becoming a lead.
Yeah.
Like you ever click like, right? And you're like, okay, like let me stop filling it
right.
out, right?
Yep.
Like, I know
I'm not gonna be nobody's lead. Yeah.
Right, yeah, I'm not gonna be or like I'm just not interested in the product.
Correct.
Right? You know what I mean? So it's like being able to realize like, hey, Mike who filled it out could be just as high intent on the digital side, if not higher, because he never saw it. He's like, what is this mortgage protection thing? And I think that's where I hear a lot of people, like in terms of, clients on the phone, like, well, actually, I just really never heard a whole lot about this. So I'm excited to hear about it because A, B, C, D with my husband, with my spouse, with my friend, and they kind of start opening up to you. And I think that's really important because if we think about the presentation, when we start talking to that family, I always go into questions. I was a really big person of like, I need to make sure I make you somewhat uncomfortable at the table because I need you to tell me why you need the insurance. Yeah. I don't need to tell you why you need it.
Correct.
Like, I can tell you what I'd recommend based off of what you're telling me, right? But it's like, we need to look at the mailer like it's just as intentional as the digital. They just don't have that information in front of them right now. So I need to just bring them back. Yeah. So kind of what that looks like difference for me right now, or the biggest difference I felt when I was calling was, first of all, I made it different. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, well, I kept going back to the lead. This is what it looked like, Right. It's like, dude, like they watched a video. Correct. Like what's wrong? What the video is just as intentional if we think about it, right? But I had this.
So do you lead with that now? I'm getting back to the video you watched.
Getting back to about that video you watched on Facebook about the mortgage protection. How you doing, Mike? Yeah. Like I'm doing great, right? So I'm gonna either try to one call close you depending on where you're at. I'm not gonna. Yeah. I'm not big on like let's one call close people when they're like in the middle of work. I just don't think that's like helping anyone. Yep. However, I'm big on like let's set the appointment. I do use a dialer just to kind of help supplement with appointments, and I think that's huge. Your dialer is never going. I don't care if you have 85 of them and they're amazing. They're never going to dial and care for your appointments as much as you are. Correct. So like if you can get ahead of that, it's going to be huge in terms of going. If you're working mail and going to digital, like it's like stop overthinking it. So that's really kind of like the biggest things that kind of stuck me, like where I kept going back to, well, this is what I did for the last 6 years or what, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, dude, well, times have changed, just like you said, you know what I mean? Like, so like get with it or basically like you're going to run out, Absolutely. So the biggest thing I realized though, Mike, is going to those like questions, right? Like if I don't ask you, like if I get you on the phone and I'm timid, now it's hard to be timid in a home to a point. Yeah. What I mean by that is like, it would be hard for me personally, Mike, to go into your home and be timid because that's just not who I am as like an agent, right? I'm going to just be like, hey, like, okay, like what does this look like? Who is it going to impact? Where are you going if something happens? Like, what does that look like? I'm asking who, what, when, where, why questions. I think a lot of us lost those questions on the way to telesales or on the way to virtual because we almost just want to like get to the next person. Got it. So we're not like loving the one we're with. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I had to learn to kind of love the one I'm with on the phone. Yeah. Even if they ain't rocking with me in the first 2 minutes.
Right.
They might be rocking with me in the first 5, and that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just a little bit of a different approach on the front end.
Got it.
That's making sense so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to your own mindset, right? You looked at it as such a different lead. It is different, but it's small differences.
Yeah.
So when you first started doing it, you had a completely different approach. And how'd that work out for you?
I mean, I was awful.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all these people, they don't want to talk to me. They don't even know what it's about. Like, and it's like, dude, they don't know what it's about because, like, how are you introducing it?
Right.
Like, what's your question? Like, you know, it's like my question with the mailer was, hey, Mike, when you filled this out, what was your biggest concern? At least to get the convo going, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, why did that question have to change? Like, it doesn't. Yeah. To get a surface, right? Because you'll have people say things like, oh, I was just looking into it. I never saw it. You know, same things people are going to say in the home.
Right.
But once you can break that barrier down, like we all know there's a bigger reason why they filled out the form. They put their mortgage amount, they put their monthly payment, they put their beneficiary, they put their age, like they put the beneficiary's name. Yeah. It's like there's a reason for that. And it's not just because they wanted to see what it does.
Correct.
They want to see if it's the right fit for them, right?
Right.
So I think just taking a step back sometimes, like what I didn't do, for example, in the home all the time, unless somebody was confused, was explain like, hey, Mike, are you familiar with the 3 different types of mortgage protection? And then, like, you know, typically like I would do that if they're confused in the home. Okay. Right? So let's just.
You weren't doing that on the phone.
No, I wasn't doing that on the phone, and that was not serving me. But it definitely helps you from a mortgage protection stance, right? So
go do it. You asked me what are the no, I have no idea. What are the top 3?
So, you know, Mike, you might have had that PMI if you didn't put 20% down or private mortgage insurance with the bank. And, you know, do you understand how that works?
I'll say no because most people don't. No.
Right. Okay, so, you know, the way that works is, God forbid something happens to you, Mike, that's really going to make sure the loan's paid off for the bank. Mm-hmm. It's not going to help your family at all. Yeah. If anything, it's going to work against them.
And that's key. Like, how many of your clients, I mean, this goes back to when we were selling 10 years ago, they thought that PMI was the same thing that you were like, I already have it, I got it through the bank. No, dude, the days of getting actual mortgage protection through the bank are long gone. You have PMI. But, I mean, for me, I think it was 99% of the people I met that had PMI thought it was mortgage protection. Do you still run into that?
100%. Absolutely. All the time. Yeah. They're like, I already got that done. It's like, no, you protected the bank.
Right.
Like, and, you know, so it's like first type is that PMI, you know. They're like, okay, got it. You know, second type is there's some type of damage on the home, like, you know, a tree fell on the house, God forbid, or, you know, there was a flood. That's your homeowners. What we're going to talk about here today is if you were to pass away, get sick, or get hurt, what that would look like for you and your family. Does that make sense?
Right.
And I'm making sure that they're going to track with me there.
Yeah.
Because now I'm good that they're clear of what it is. And they usually are. Yeah. They're like, let's do this thing. Because and they're like, we hate that PMI. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. And if there is any confusion, like, that's not what I want. At least you know then, so you can then move on. Because I think that's a skill that it's hard to teach new agents because then, you know, they'll say that, you know, nobody was a fit, right? Like, you know, I just met with 10 people in Marysa and none of them were a fit. Well, then now you're just not good yet, or you're lying, one or the other.
Right.
But it's a skill that you develop to where in whatever first few minutes of your appointment, 5, 10, whatever it is, I can determine whether you're serious about doing this or not. And if you're not, I'm not going to waste an hour plus, like you talked about when we did your True Talk. You know, you're at the other company, you're hour in regardless.
Yeah.
And now if there's any interest, it's a whole another hour. Well, I'm trying to find out in the first 5, 10 minutes, like if this is a complete no-go, I want to help everybody. But if I know you have no interest in this and maybe you just accidentally, I want to move on to my next appointment, right?
Exactly.
So where is this? Is this one of the spots where you're finding that out, or where do you find out where, hey, this is a go or this is a no?
So typically I find it out right there because you're going to kind of hear their feedback or their interest or disinterest, or like, oh, well, like actually I didn't realize, you know, you have whatever. People say a multitude of different things, but you realize where they're at, right? Most importantly. Yep. And then from there, like you said, first 5 minutes, especially on the phone, we have to know. It's like we have to know, or is this person wanting help or not? Because we have to move on, right? Yep. And some people will be willing to stay on the phone with us for 30 minutes. Oh, yeah. Which is the problem, too, right? So it's like you said, new agents sometimes don't know how to let that one go. Correct. It's like if someone says to me right there, oh, well, actually, you know, I'm not interested in that. I don't care what happens to my house when I die. I have no kids. Like this, like, they go on a tangent. Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, you make it a great day. God bless. Right. Move on. Next.
You get nothing out of sitting there arguing with them.
Right. Like I'm not gonna like pull your teeth to help you. As long as you understand this is what it is. Okay. Cool. I'll get off the phone with you. No problem. Done.
Absolutely. Outside of those things, anything else different about the digital lead?
So with the digital leads too, so I set up what I refer to as my role and purpose, was just setting the table. So after I go through like those 3, different types, make sure they're with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what we're going to do today. This is who I am, what they refer to as a state underwriter or a broker. I work with these different companies. Essentially explaining I'm going to shop around for them. I'm getting objections off of the table, right?
Which
I'm
is
like,
key.
Yes.
Like the worst question you can have as a new agent is, hey, Marysa, how do I overcome these objections? You don't.
Right.
You remove them.
Yes. You're proactive.
Absolutely.
You're not reactive. Exactly.
100%.
And that's a game changer, because it's like, if I tell you, so like, I'm just going to hit you with it real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So Mike, before we jump right into it, I just want to tell you, who I am and really, what I'm going to walk through with you today, just so you're not caught off guard. Okay.
Got it.
All right. So I'm what they refer to as a state field underwriter or a state broker. Simply just meaning I work together here with the state of Connecticut on one end and about, 40 different companies here that you'll see on that sheet I sent over to you that offer these types of plans. My job is to do that shopping around for you to get you the absolute lowest rate, based off what we're looking to cover. So, Mike, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the mortgage itself to make sure I understand how everything is structured, a little bit about finances and plans you may already have in place, and a little bit about your health, not to be intrusive, just to make sure whatever application we take today and send up to senior underwriting, we'll feel good about getting an approval in 2 to 5 days and not getting you declined. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. And then, of course, Mike, we all got a budget, right? I do. I hope that you do, and hopefully the guy down the street does, right?
Yep.
We want to make sure anything we're looking at will suit your need, suit your budget. We'll do our best to make them work together. That sounds fair?
Yes.
All right, perfect. And I jump right into it.
Yeah.
But now you're giving me permission, right?
Right.
I just got off the table shopping around.
Yep.
Think about it. Told them we're taking the application, right?
Correct.
And budget,
Yeah.
right? I put all of them on the table. Like, no one's at home, Mike. Like, oh, what's the next thing we're going to tell the insurance agent, right?
Right.
Like, those are the 3,
Yeah.
right?
And then if they do bring those things up later, you always can just go back to that. Remember when I told you I was going to shop around? Remember when I told you I was going to get you the best option? Remember when you already laid it out.
Right.
And you already got me to agree to it.
Exactly.
So we go back, like, remember, it's like dealing with your kids. Like, remember you said you wouldn't jump on the couch with your, apple juice or whatever? Remember we had that conversation? Right. Can you get down?
Yeah. Right. You get off the couch. Like,
yeah.
And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And, like, sometimes, like, they do need a little bit of a push at the end of,
Yep.
hey, Mike, remember I told you my job is to show you what I think I can get you qualified for?
Yep.
Right? Like, it takes 2 to 5 days. Are you going to need more than that to think about it? Like,
Right.
And usually they're like, no. All right, we'll take B. You know what I mean? Like, just
exactly.
pick one, right?
And just, if it's on your mind, ask it.
Exactly.
Right? Like, how many times do you think the agent gets one of these objections and they're afraid to question it? They're like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen on an appointment? Absolute worst.
They hang up on you.
They hang up on you. You don't help the family.
Right.
That's the absolute worst,
Yep.
right?
You
There's
spend
nothing
time
else.
and don't help them, right?
Yep. You spent some time. You didn't sell them a policy. You didn't cover the family. You didn't make any money. Okay, on to the next.
Right.
So if that's the absolute worst, what's wrong with me going, if you don't mind me asking, Marie, so what is it that you want to think about over the next few days? Or how long would that take for you to think about this? Because you've been thinking about it for a while because you don't have it yet, right?
Right.
You weren't born yesterday.
Right,
So,
you're 57.
Yeah, 57 years. Like, what? Ask, and then shut up.
Right. And I think that's the thing, too. Ask and then shut up.
Yes.
Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
You talk yourself out of the sale. Well,
100%.
like they ask the question, just keep rambling. Like, bro, you said you had a question, and then you just kept talking. Shut up for a second.
Right. And, when I first started doing telesales, like, I was huge on in the home, like, just at certain points, you have to just shut up.
Yeah.
Like, in the most respectful way. Like,
Right.
please, close, just stop for you,
Oh, silence is like deafening in the home.
100%.
Yep.
It's like, it will feel like, 3 hours, but it was like 1 minute, and then they're like, oh, we'll take B.
Oh, yeah. I remember like that when I was new, the payment was always like a struggle for me to get, right? So we, do the whole, hey, here's your conditional receipt, here's this, you're covered, blah, 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 and you just need to void a check, right?
Right.
And I remember one appointment vividly. The guy wanted it. He was just old school guy. He was one of those like, if I give him my account number, they're going to take all my money. I'm thinking, bro, we're literally going back and forth over a $52 premium. Mutual of Omaha ain't trying to get what's in your bank account, bro.
Right.
There's not much. It's fine, but like we just went through your budget. They're not trying to get you of all people. Trust me. But I got to that point, and I'm just like, yeah, I just need to void a check for the payment to come out.
And they
And he's like, void a check? What do you need that for? I'm like, because you pay for the insurance, right? Like it has come out. And then I just looked down. I don't even say anything else. I'm literally like just, dotting my T's, crossing my I's on my application.
You're so busy.
Oh yeah, it felt like 45 minutes. My man's sitting there, looking at me, looking at the app. I'm not even making. I'm just down.
You're adding the zip code.
Yep, absolutely. Just taking my sweet time, signing my name, all kinds of shit. And then what does he do? He gets up, goes to a drawer in the kitchen. You just write void on it. Sometimes I don't know how to spell void. That's why I miss about like, in the home. Like VIOD, like that's not void, but I think it will work.
Right, we'll still void it, right?
But he just gives it to you.
Yep.
But the silence can work in your favor. Sometimes you just gotta shut up.
Right, 100%. And on the phone, it can be almost like a bit weirder.
Yeah.
You're like, did they hang up on me?
Right.
Right, like, are they still there? It's like, they're still there. Like, they're still there. Like, rock with them. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And just one of the other things I really bumped into, or kind of taken out of my presentation, was almost like extracting this, like the why, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do you need the insurance? Like, what is it going to do? What does it look like if it's not there? Like, why do we actually need this today? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us almost just try to get on and off the phone.
Right.
But it's like, once you're in that presentation, like, just like in the home, love the one you're with.
Correct.
Like, you need to pay attention to what they're saying.
Yep.
Because the second you don't is the second that they're like, you're not even listening to me.
Right.
And like, I don't like you. Like, bye.
Or the best salespeople are good listeners.
100%. You have to be.
Yep.
Because like, if you don't hear what they're saying, they're not going to relate with you, and you're not going to be able to connect. So really what I take it out of my presentation was, okay, Mike, God forbid you were to die tomorrow, what does that look like for, Mary?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Mary, okay, like, what does that look like for you? Because, you passed away, okay? Like, going back to who, what, when, where, why, how questions.
Right.
And painting a picture. And it's not in a way to be like malicious. It's in a way to help them understand, because guys, like, how many of us that are in the industry, we haven't sat down and it's like, what would it look like if I passed away?
Correct.
It's like, so people don't talk about this every day. Like, you got to pull it out of them.
Yep.
And when you do, a lot of people are thankful. They're like, I didn't think about
100%.
that. I didn't think about the higher of the two social securities, right? Like, I didn't think about the loss of income. I didn't look at it that way, or the months of payments, or whatever it might be. But if you don't pull out that emotion, it's just not going to work, especially with the digital lead, because it goes back to kind of like that visual piece of it. They might remember a little bit about the video, but they don't have this thing in front of them that says death, disability, illness. You get what I'm saying?
Correct.
So
you bring them back to that.
Yeah, bring them back to it. Like, well, okay, what if we got sick? What does that look like? What if one of you guys couldn't work? Like, because these guys, it's not just about when they die. It's about, like, when we're here.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me, it's like, if I can't work, that's going to be a big problem.
Right.
So it's like, let's make sure we're solving all the problems, kind of, so to say, across the board, or we're hearing their concern. Because sometimes you'll talk to that single person who's 38, no kids, and they're like, oh, I don't really think I need it. And then I'm like, okay, well, like, if you get sick or hurt, like, do you have anything in place to cover the mortgage? They're like, well, actually, no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, like, actually, they need it just as much,
Absolutely.
So.
And that's the thing. You ask enough questions, listen. First of all, connect with your clients, right? Establish control. You are the one in charge. You're the expert.
Right.
You have to educate them, connect with them, and just have a conversation.
Right.
I mean, that's really what it is. You're sitting down, having a conversation, connecting with someone for a few minutes, and then helping them solve a problem.
Right.
And you're like, well, how do I know they have a problem? Because they filled out a form.
Because you're right. Because they watched the whole video.
They watched the video.
And then they filled out all the form, put their height and weight, like.
Correct.
Like.
It's kind of like, I used to say this when we were all, direct mail. Think about what it takes for you to be in that home with that client. They send out thousands, if not a million mailers. I mean, between all lead companies, right?
Right.
Probably millions of mailers a week.
Yep.
You get about 1% to 2% back, right? So how many people got the letter, threw it out, never even made, people that they get their mail and it goes right in the garbage outside. They could have done that. They could have brought it in the house, left it on the dining room table, intended to fill it out and send it back. Didn't do that.
Right.
These individuals had to get that mailer, open it up, put all their personal information on it, seal it back up, then make a trip to either the post office, somehow mail it, put the correct information on it. You then call them. They booked an appointment. Then you got there and they were there. All those things had to happen.
Right.
It wasn't just like, you picked up the phone and called it. All those, no different with the digital leads.
Right.
So they're going on wherever it is, Facebook, Instagram. They're seeing a video. They're watching the whole video, right? Which educates them on what their options are on the other side. Like, they know it's life insurance.
Yep.
Then they put all their information on some type of online form.
Right.
They give you the correct info. And again, then they answer the phone when you call. Then they're willing to meet with you.
Right.
All those things happen. And if you don't help that person with a policy, well, what was the one variable we introduced? You. Right?
100%. 100%. And if you think about it like that, it's like you're putting an apple to an apple.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was trying to put like an apple to an orange.
Right.
And it's like, no, it's still the apple. Like,
Yep.
It's still the apple. So just really though, pulling out that why is huge.
Yep.
And then also, one thing that I heard a lot of people like talk about, or just in terms of like, oh, quality of business, which is huge. It's so important. And when I talk to my clients, like I want you to be my client forever. If you're my client today, I want you my client in 10 years and, for the rest of your life. However, if we don't close that appointment down properly, because the way that, like, we all know, like, Mike, if me and you start talking about Nike right now, like, there's a great probability that in, like, 20 minutes we're going to have Nike ads.
Absolutely.
Like,
I'll have them now just because you said it, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like,
Thank you.
It's like, that's a real thing, right?
Yep.
So we also have to protect our business.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And I think that part is huge, too. And it really comes back to, did they like you and did they trust you, right?
Correct.
Did you follow up? Did you do what you said you were going to do?
Yep.
I hear agents all the time be like, oh, like I'll get back to you in, 3 to 5 days and follow up with you when you get the call. And then they never call them.
Right.
And they're like, I don't know how Johnny Smith fell off. Well, like, he doesn't think you care. Someone else called after you because he keeps getting the same ads, going back to kind of Nike here, right?
Yep.
And like the right person that trusts you isn't going to keep filling out the same ad.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So I think that's really important at the end, just establishing, asking them. So I'll be like, might sound corny, but I do this with every single person I talk to. I don't care if I'm 5 hours behind. I'll say, Mike, do you feel like I helped your family today to the best of my ability and got what you needed in place today?
Yeah.
And you'll be like, they're always like, yeah,
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And like, was there anything you felt like I could have done better? I'm always looking for ways to get better, Mike.
Right.
And then like sometimes they'll be like, in the beginning you talk really fast. I'm like, I'm working on that.
Right. I'll try.
But like usually they're like, no, like, and it's like, okay, great. Well, hey, Mike, you might get some different calls. People might tell you that they're my manager, that they're, looking to do a review of the policy. If anyone calls you like that, just give me a call or go ahead and give them my number because I'm actually going to be the only person you'll be working with as it pertains to your mortgage protection.
Right.
Do you have any questions? And usually, like, they get it.
Yeah,
And sometimes I'll have my clients call me and they'll be like, I just got a call and I told them to call you. And like,
they're all happy about
they're like, so like, don't worry.
Yep.
And it's
that's
just,
right.
Yeah. And I'm like, yes. But like, you got to keep your clients there and you also got to do what you said you're going to do.
Absolutely.
It's like if you tell them you're going to call them when they get the policy, call them when they get the policy. Like, go over it. It takes 5 minutes.
It's funny, those little things, like there's a lot of times where chargebacks, cancellations are caused by just those small things. Like they got a little bit of buyer's remorse, but then they start adding everything up. Well, she said she was going to call me. She never called me. Yep. She said she was going to call me. Like whatever, whether it was before it was drafted, like whatever your thing is, if you say it, do it.
Period.
If you're not going to do it, don't say it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
it's actually better to not say it and not do it than to tell someone, hey, I'm going to call you when this thing is getting ready to draft, and then you don't.
And then they see it on their account.
Yeah. Maybe they're waiting for you to transfer some money. You never know how people deal with their
right, 100%. Yeah. Exactly.
It's funny. We started this training with all the things. We're tell you what's different about the leads, but here's like there's not much difference.
Yeah, it's how you view it.
Yeah, the difference is don't treat it different.
I was going to say, and that's really what I learned. It's like even just through the whole telesales journey, it's like again I tried to make all these different scripts and take this person's and then this person. It's like. No, just be yourself and ask direct questions. Like, show your credentials, make sure that they know who you are, cool, and then move on.
Right.
Like you're in the house.
Because, I've never sold telesales. I've been out of the field for, I don't even know now, years. But I hear you guys come on and the things that you talk about, sure, processes, products, all these techniques have changed, but the core principles have not.
Correct.
The same things you guys say now are the same things we heard a decade ago of, hey, shoot your clients straight, find their why. I mean, they all had different ways to say it, but essentially it's the same thing. So it's like, what changes on the digital? Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Just the fact that you're now not in the home or you're not getting a direct mailer. So just but point out the same things that you would in the past.
Exactly.
Bring them back to when they filled it out.
Right.
Well, it wasn't a mailer, so don't go, I'll show you what you filled out. You can't show them what they filled out.
Right. But you can talk to them
You can talk about it.
Yeah.
Talk about the video. Maybe you should go watch the video that they watched, right?
100%.
Like, I'm sure you've seen the video.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it helps me. Like, it's like it's a 30-second video. Like, no matter what ad campaign you're on, I promise you can see it. Like, ask.
I guarantee you there's people struggling that have never seen the video. Well, how do I find out? Figure it out. Talk to the lead company.
I was going to say, the vendor will just be like, here you go. Yeah, like.
Here's the video.
It's not a secret.
It's just like the mailer. I mean, think it's the same concept. We had the mailer in front of us. So when they go, I didn't fill it out. Really? Marysa, it talked about your loan with, this bank, and it says it's for $250,000. That right? Yeah. Your date of birth, here's this. Says you're 5'3", like you don't smoke. I wouldn't know all that about you.
Right.
Did you put that? And I would even like describe their signature. You got like this big M, and then it's like a squiggle thing, and like, yeah, that's me.
Right.
Do the same thing with the electronic lead, the digital lead.
Exactly.
You watch this video. It was a short video. It talked about this. It said whatever it was. It said death and red light. Whatever.
Anything that you can point out. Yep.
But so it's like, what's so different? Nothing.
Yeah, nothing's that different, right? It's about if you change the mindset upstairs.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Well, Marysa, I appreciate you coming in and doing this. You're at 297, I think?
291.
291 year to date. Okay. You're going to be at 400. I'll put you on the spot again.
I will be at 400. 100%.
You'll be at Hall of Fame, be at the Hall of Fame dinner at annual convention. So, guys, if you're not registered, get registered now, fflconvention.com. I know a lot of people are like, I'm going to wait till the last minute. Okay, well, they will sell out.
Absolutely,
and
they
there will be no more seats. And also, there's seats that are available where you can get free leads, and those are going to sell out first. So I would say get on and get that, because a lot of times you end up getting more in leads than what you did, pay for your ticket and your flight to get there.
So true. And just really quick, 10 agents on my team, last year came home with over like $4,000 in lead credits.
That's crazy.
So it was like amazing.
Yeah.
So super excited for this year. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share this with your agents. You know where to find us every week right here on The Next Level. We'll see you next week.